guys, Scott here from Outlaw Garage. Today we are going completely modern. We're here with Brian. We are in a Weissach GT4 RS. We're going for a spin. We might even find a coffee on the way.
We'll do that.
And we'll have a bit of a chat. These aren't the comfort seats, are they? These are the...
No, these are the seats out of the GT3 RS.
Yeah.
So these are the sport seats.
I was going to say...
Full carbon
yeah,
back.
But they don't feel as uncomfortable as I remember a GT3 seats feeling.
No, they're not. I've done the run up to Mansfield and that in it. 5-6 hours a day running the car in, and got out of it as fresh as a daisy.
Oh, because you would have had to do your run in.
Yeah, 1,500 kilometre.
1,500. Okay.
Run in on them. So it's a bit painful because, like anything, you just want to. You want to give it a run, but you can't. And so I chose the Andre Verniger run-in method, and he basically says on his GT cars that it's sort of 5,000 k's for the first 5,000 revs for the first 500 k's, and for every 200 k's more than that, you can increase your revs up to another 500. So you finally get to 1,500 revs. You're up to about 8,500 revs, and then you can give it a run.
It's actually the first time I've ever actually sat in one as well, and the quality of the material. PDK?
PDK, yeah, because it's running the GT3 motor. It's the same motor as the current Cup car. It's the same motor as the 992 GT3. It's exactly the same motor. This puts out 10 horsepower less, so it's 500 horsepower. The GT3 is 510. That's because being mid-mounted, the exhaust has to go over the rear axle to get out, so the pipes are longer and it doesn't breathe as well.
So you just lose a little bit with your exhaust.
Yeah, about 10 horsepower more. And because of the gearbox, because they had to rotate the engine around, they couldn't put a manual gearbox into it. So PDK, I think the best single feature of this car, forget the motor and everything else, is that gearbox.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm a manual person. All my cars, all my Porsches, all my sports cars, most of my cars, other than company cars, have all been manual. I just love manual.
Yeah.
And having had this now, and driven it around town and driven it, on some runs and having a quick spurt on a track, the PDK is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It's so quick and shifting, and you can kick it across and just put it into sequential manual, and it's just as good as driving a manual.
Yeah,
it really is. And the changes on it are just lightning quick.
Did you have to wait long for it? Because I remember, I think we were at one of the highball events and we talked about that you'd ordered this.
Yeah, I was
a little while ago, to be fair.
Yeah, it was. It was May last year. I was extremely fortunate. I bought a number of Porsches off Porsche Centre Melbourne, through Dean Williams down there over the journey. And I'd pop in every 6 or 7 months and just say good day. We'd have a cup of coffee with Dean and just see how things were going. And he was, as a young guy.
Yeah.
And then I had my 993 Carrera, which you videoed. And I ended up putting a twin turbo into it and turned into a GT2 replica. And that was a fantastic car. And being twin turbo was just awesome. But I always yearned for naturally aspirated, something really special.
Yeah.
And I've had a Lambo before. I've had some of the more exotic cars. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And when it comes to sort of wanting to get older and simplify your life and simplify things, I really wanted a car that did it all. And whilst my red 993 is a beautiful looking car and I absolutely loved it, it was still old school. And I loved it, but I just yearned for something that was naturally aspirated. So I looked at the GT3s. My son wanted to get me a GT3 RS. He was dead keen on it. And I just found that after the 997s, they just became too big. And they're really, really
big. They're an enormous car.
They're big cars.
Yeah.
And I'm used to the 993. You can just reach across and touch the door like you can on this. And I just love that whole intimate feel of it. So I went down and saw Dean one day, and you read a report about a secret GT4 RS coming out, and he sort of denied it like everyone did. So anyway, I just said, look, can you just stick my name on a list? And if it ever eventuates, I'd be interested in, it's the only car I'd probably swap my 993 for.
Yeah.
So cut a long story short, that was probably nearly 5 years ago. And then the car was announced, and I went down there, and Dean was away, and one of the other sales guys on the floor said, oh, Brian, I don't know, we've got 115 orders for about 30 cars, and not sure how many we're going to get, and, not sure whether you'll get one. And I said, that's okay, just get Dean to give me a ring when he gets back. And Dean rang me back and said, yeah, your name's on the list and we'll see how it all goes. And that was all fine. And I read the reports and I got more and more enthusiastic about the car. And I read every single road report and every single YouTube video I could, and I thought, well, this is pretty special. And then one day I was walking my dogs around the park and Dean rang us a Friday afternoon. I was about to jump on a plane to go into state, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm walking the dogs. And he goes, he said, I wanted you to come in and choose your colour and your spec for your new car. And I said, what car would that be, Dean? And he said, a GT4 RS. I thought, oh my goodness. I was that excited that Dean sent me all the stuff, and I got online and I was already doing my, track my dream type stuff on the car configurator. And I did most of it up there, but I was really excited. And Dean was, they were fantastic. I mean, they only had allocation for 23 of about, I think there's only 35 cars coming in total for Brighton, Doncaster, and Porsche Centre Melbourne. And the first 5 cars were coming out didn't have roll cages. And there's only 5 sort of RS Weissach packs that Porsche Centre Melbourne actually had as builds, and I was lucky enough to be offered one of those. So I could choose. So I chose a Weissach pack. I chose a Club Sport. The titanium cage that comes with the full Weissach pack is non-FIO approved. So you couldn't do Target Tasmania or any of the Targa events in it. Because, whilst titanium and light, it's not FIO approved. So I deleted that, which saved me $6,000. But they put in a Club Sport roll cage, which is FIO approved, but basically for nothing. And, the order was placed in May, and it was built in October. 3 months it took to get here. Went the long way through America, through the Panama Canal, and the very long way. GT Silver. And it's funny, I go back and look at all the cars I've owned, and when I look at my Porsches particularly, and I've had C4Ss and they were seal grey, and I had another C4S a couple of years later, it was seal grey. I bought a GT3, and I actually I went different, I went white, and then I bought an AMG C63, and it was silver, and then I traded that in and got a silver A45. And silver's not one of my favourite colours, but I don't know what it is, but it's just funny. And then I bought a Cayenne off Dean, and it was grey. It was a seal grey, metallic grey, and I thought, what's going on here? And then when this came up, I went through the colours, and being my age, I didn't want to. I'd love to go and get something that was really out there, but I figured at my age I'd probably go grandpa's pick. GT Silver again, but I really like it. It's just a classic colour.
And we were saying outside that the colour shows the shape and the contour of the car really well because of the contrast with the carbon fibre and then the silver. Because on this, being a smaller car, a darker colour hides the body shape a lot, and I think it's so nice. You want to pick up all the detail of the car.
Yeah, I think so. I think if you're going to go the Weissach pack, well then that's what you would do. Yeah. And my son wanted me to get a black, black on black on black, and
hides everything.
It does, and it just looks like a black blob running down the road. And whilst lovely, absolutely lovely, I prefer to be able to look at it and physically see the features. I mean, the cutaway guards and the side vents and all that. They just pop out a lot more. And if you're going to spend the money that you have to spend to buy one of these, when you turn around and look at it, you really want to like what you're seeing.
see what you paid for.
Yeah, that's it.
So let's also go through a bit of a car list here as well, because this is I didn't expect this. So the 993 was twin turbo. I might have some footage of that, or some photos. We might stick something up if I find it. Red car, not silver.
No, that was red car.
That was definitely red. The Lambo, what was that?
That was silver, 6-speed manual, 2004. I imported that with a mate from England. So it was a UK purchased car, and we
model?
It was a 2004 Gallardo.
Okay.
6-speed manual, the old gated, 6-speed manual. So we brought that in and had it for 3 years, had a lot of fun in it, and then sold it on. It was sort of more of a project. That's when the pound was about 64, 65 to the Aussie dollar. And it only cost us to bring the car in, to purchase it, to bring it over, comply it, and put it on the road was about 130 grand Aussie. And they were selling, Australian delivered cars were selling for 220, 230.
Wow.
And so we had it for 3 years and we sold it for more. We still made money on it. But my boys and I, we like driving cars.
Yeah.
And we found the Lambo was just a big, lazy, you know, great on the autobahns, but you know, over here in Australia, they're not really a car. You'd go and do a Sunday morning run in so much.
Yeah, you're not going up in the hills in that.
No, they're just too big and they're just lazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they're very extremely long gearing in them, and beautiful cars, but if you're a driver, you know, you can't get past you know, the Porsches.
GTRs, what did you have there?
We had an R32. You know, again, we imported an R32 from Japan and had that for about 3 or 4 years. It had a roll cage in it out of Japan, so we used to track it with my boys, take it down to Sandown, Phillip Island, those places, and put it on the track and give it a run, which was fantastic. We had an opportunity to pick up an R34 GTR that had a heap of work done to it. It was 404 kilowatts at all 4 wheels. It was built as a pace car for a Japanese series, and then it was purchased by someone and brought into Melbourne, and they ran into some financial difficulty. It was offered to us, so we grabbed at it, and that was an absolute monster. 6-speed manual, obviously, but an absolute monster, and we had a lot of fun with that on the track. We used to run the 2 GTRs, and I had a GT3 back in those days, a white GT3. So I'd run the GT3, and my 2 boys would run the 2 GTRs on the track. The 3 of us, GoPros, and drive days, and have a lot of fun together on the track.
That's the sound.
That's the sound.
Modified exhaust.
Unfortunately.
Hello, Mr. Policeman.
You slightly put your foot down, you can start to get that deep induction grill. You put it down a bit further. And then it's got individual throttle bodies on it, so as you put your foot down, you can hear them open up, as we just did then. A lot of the drive videos that it's too noisy, and I think that just comes back to how you choose to drive the car. So on the track between 8.5 and 9,000, it's extremely loud. It's about 105 decibels has been measured overseas, but the noise and the tingle that it does to your ear is just unbelievable. But you don't need to drive it that hard. I don't drive it that hard. You know, I'm somewhere between 4 and 6.5, 7, and it is just an absolute joy.
Because you would have thought at 105 decibels there'd be a number of tracks that would go, that's potentially too loud.
But that's only on the inside. On the outside, the car's quite muted. So that's you know, for owners of GT4s, RSs, that's one of the things that they say. It's very, very quiet outside, so it doesn't sound like a GT3 on the outside, and it sounds better than a GT3 on the inside. This is where the 2 cars are very, very different. They're not the same. Whilst they run similar gearbox ratios and the same motor, they are 2 very, very different, distinctly unique cars. This is not as quick as a GT3. The track's not as wide. GT3s have got 4-wheel steering, double wishbone suspension. This hasn't. This has got 991 GT2 RS suspension, front and rear. So it doesn't have the 4-wheel steering that new G992s have. So it's not as quick. The track's not as wide. It doesn't handle as well around corners because the rubber's a lot smaller. It's only 2 95s in the back. GT3s run 305s with wider tracks, so they actually sit and squat a lot better and grip a lot better than these. But these are very different cars. You've got, you've got this sort of, you've got this got that type of noise that you just don't get in a GT3. So for driving on a Sunday and just going for a bit of a fun time, you can do things like this. Just kick it back 2 gears. Want to change, and then just pop the gear change, and then you're back to 7-speed, 100k, just cruising again. Put the radio on. Again, I sort of bit of a boy racer. I like my cars to sound nice, and whilst the sound inside the car is fantastic, you don't really hear any exhaust noise with the windows down, driving around, and I like to. And so I've been following Soul Performance and JCW exhaust in the UK, and FabSpeed. I had a FabSpeed headers on a Boxster that I had, and also on my 993. So they've built recently a catback valved crosspipe exhaust. I just put that on, you know, about 3 weeks ago, and it's given the car a totally different note, both inside and outside, to make it sound more GT3-ish. And you don't have to break speed limits to hear it, you know.
No.
You know, it's not that. What they did with this car compared to the GT4, it runs the same GT4 gearbox, same PDK box that the GT4 runs, but they've taken all the gears out of the 99 1.2 GT3 RS, same gears, same gear set, but they've reduced the final drive ratio, so this will pull, I think, to quarter mile faster than a GT3 because of the gear ratios, the final gear ratio. So it revs out faster than a GT3 does, to get it up there. But because of that, you can now run the car around, you know, Melbourne, like on freeways and things like that, and get it up to really nice high revs without doing ridiculously, you know,
stupid speeds.
Okay, so just down up to 100 k's and back again, and you just enjoyed that. You just enjoyed that, you know, the symphony.
Monster sound.
When that induct noise behind our head, you know, that just slowly accelerating. Weissach's normally the least, you know, ordered car in spec generally, but I think because this car's a bit of a unicorn, there is only going to be one GT4 RS naturally aspirated, which I think why Porsche went all out and did so much to this car. It's not funny. So it's a unicorn. There is no second model of this, and so whilst they're still making them, there is going to be a limited number ultimately built. And I know from the Porsche dealers that they've been handing back people's deposits because they've got more. There's more interest in this than they can build.
I didn't know that.
No, so this is it. So this is the only car that will ever have a GT3 motor, naturally aspirated RS. I mean, the Porsche may they'll build quicker electric cars, of course. But whether it's got a GT3 motor in it, well, like this. With the GT3 RSs, there's 2 generations 996, 2 generations 997, 2 generations 991, 2 generations 992. So there's 8 generations of GT3 RSs. There's only 1 generation of GT4 RS.
Hope you enjoyed the video. We had an absolute blast. The note of this car is completely what I didn't expect, to be honest. So please give the video a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. We will see you soon. See you guys, bye.